Now, Asian leaders at the World Economic Forum in Vietnam have criticised the United States, which is involved in a worsening trade war with China. Territorial tensions in the South China Sea are also being discussed, along with how a growing workforce can compete against automation and artificial intelligence. We can go live now to Hanoi and our correspondent who's covering the event, Wayne Hay. Wayne.
Yes, Martine, well, the official theme for this World Economic Forum on Southeast Asia is technology, new technologies, and how the nations in this region can best capitalise on things like artificial intelligence going forward. But there's no doubt that another big issue has overshadowed those talks to an extent, and that is the trade dispute between China and the United States. And that's certainly been the feedback from the leaders who are present here when they have been speaking. Let's find out some more about that now, and joining me is Lutfey Siddiqi from the London School of Economics. Thanks for joining us. What is the atmosphere like in the meeting so far today? People talking about this trade dispute?
Yeah, well, firstly, it's always positive, and there's always a lot of energy at ASEAN meetings. There's a lot going well for them. In 12 years' time, they're going to be the fourth largest economy in the world if they operate as a single economy. So digital and collaboration are the key words here. But it's also true that there is not a pall of gloom, but a tinge of concern about trade war. I have felt in the past that every time there were jitters in emerging markets, there was a tendency for us here to say, that's nothing to do with us, that's Argentina, that's Turkey, we're good, we're cool over here. Now, China is too close to home. The dependence of this region on China on the trade front is quite considerable. And there's also a dependence on the US dollar on the borrowing side of the equation. And both of those are unfavorable right now.
If we look at the trade war between the US and China, is it all doom and gloom for the likes of Vietnam, other association of Southeast Asian member nations, or are there some positives that could come out of this for them?
So I wouldn't say doom and gloom, so it's concern rather than alarm. And within ASEAN, there's huge variation. So dependence on China varies from Philippines and Indonesia at the upper end to Vietnam, which is at the lower end. But the entire region is affected. When the two largest economies in the world fight, you're bound to be affected. The positive, if you can call it that, is there is an impetus for greater cooperation, for greater economic integration within ASEAN, because they need to benefit from the economies of scale and scope in order to face off these headwinds.
And generally, looking at the economies in this region, here we are in Vietnam, one of the fastest growing economies in the world for the past few years. Are things still looking up, or are there some warning signs as well?
Things are looking up on a long-term basis. The secular trends, the young population, the fundamentals are strong, and they remain so. And the potential has also been identified. They need to be executed on. The jitters are all around the financial overlay, the capital flows, the currency in the near term. And those need to be managed. Central banks need to communicate with markets. So it's going to be tricky, but as I said, nowhere near a crisis.
And a lot of the talk about new technologies and the need for decentralization in countries like Vietnam again. Does that pose a problem in countries like this who are very much about centralized power?
It's really allowing for platforms to connect and take advantage of the network benefits that you get between buyers and sellers in any economy, whether that's within an economy or across borders. So the more the entire region can operate as close to a seamless economy as possible, the better. And that economic benefit is not lost on anyone.
All right, thanks very much. That's Lutfey Siddiqi from the London School of Economics. So a lot of talk about that trade dispute between the United States and China, about multilateral deals, which Vietnam is very much involved with, along with China and the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. We heard from Singapore's Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong saying that they still hope to get that deal finalised by the end of this year.
Wayne Hay, live in Hanoi. Thank you.